Bitcoin, baby.
Hey, yeah, this is Bitcoin. I'm back. The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this Bitcoin, baby. I'm back in this bitch. Flossing fast cars and rolling with my clique. The king of the rap shit, the real OG. Whack-ass rappers got nothing on me. Bought another Lambo, 3 hoes inside it. 10 hoes in line, ready to ride it. It's Bitcoin, bitch. Keep the track bumping. Really on the plug. I got pies in the oven. 80 years old, and your baby mama fond of me. All she wanna do is smoke my broccoli. Private jets from Rome to Ibiza. Lisa, Jenny, Julie, and Maria. Every day I gotta give thanks. I got Bitcoins in the bank. Bitcoin, baby. I'm back in this bitch.
Bitcoin, baby. Oh.
I'm a bad motherfucker.
Bitcoin, baby.
The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this bitch. Axe your grandmother. Verse 2, coming with the gin and the juice. Call me a drag, spit flame in the booth. I'm hot, like a thermos full of coffee. So hot, can't get the hose off me. It's true, I got the weed card and shit. I'm smoking like a motherfucking chimney, kid. Bitches love me, my shit's never whack. Tell these motherfuckers Bitcoin's back.
Bitcoin, baby.
I'm a bad motherfucker.
I'm a bad motherfucker.
Oh.
Axe your grandmother.
Surprise, motherfucker.
I have a microphone.
The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this bitch. Get your hands in the air. Put your hands on the car. Put your 2 hands on the rock. Put your 2 hands on the road.
Bitcoin, baby.
That's right. We're moving backwards, ladies and gentlemen.
We are moving backwards. You see the smoke rise? Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Silver Linings 19, the Legacy Right Litecoin Baby. Welcome in,
That's
William.
right.
Jump on in, buddy.
Hey,
Jump on in.
anytime.
Come join us.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You know where to find us.
Yeah,
So,
we were serious the other day when we said you should show up.
mhm. Check your Telegram, William. So, oh, he's on the trail with the dogs.
Hey, afterwards. Come
He's
on.
doing the smart thing. That's what we should be doing.
That is,
Exercise is
yeah. Exercise is good. Forgetful of time is good. Nature is good. Touching grass is good.
Yep.
So,
Maybe not forgetful of time, right? Like maybe really what we ought to be doing is recognizing our place with time, right?
mhm.
If we have a view of it, that's probably worth talking about very specifically today.
Well, let's get on with it. But beforehand, let's advertise. Andrew's baldness. Stare into it. And like, subscribe, and ring that bell, everybody. Now let's get back into it.
Yep. And don't snort Dubby.
Dubby's kind of weird. I
Yep.
got yeah. I
Dubby
had to,
wants to get in a toxic relationship with you.
yeah. That's why it was too toxic to the point where we had to break from it. So
Right. Well,
if
know,
yeah.
It was too close to W.
it's what happens when your product is.
We don't want to
secretly bath
associate with
salts.
that president or any president. To be specific.
Mm. Honestly, it probably was bath salts, honestly.
I've never actually tried snorting it, so I don't know.
Well, you can bang it, you can snort it, you can drink it.
Yep.
Something happens.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you can't sponsor us anymore.
Yeah, well, it ain't that drink no more.
Yep. I'd honestly rather just sponsor somebody from the comments or have someone from the comments sponsor us or whatever. You don't have to do anything. You can just volunteer to be our sponsor.
Hey,
And we'll bring you on.
That'd be kind of funny. We
That
might
would
not
be.
even do that, but you can be sponsored, or we can be sponsored by you. Kind of a
we're
weird
moving up the
phrase.
chain from socks to underwear. Sheet.com.
Mhm.
Not an affiliate.
Yep.
Sheets. Yeah. I don't know. But
It's a top level domain for anything.
yeah. That actually that kind of combines into what we should actually expand upon, actually. The our philosophical and anthropological aspect of life and our existence on this planet, and why physics actually explains philosophy. Actually, do they actually combine? That's the question.
They do.
Do physics and philosophy collide with each other head on and dismantle each other? One gobbles up the other, or do they actually correlate well with each other and are a complement?
I think
the
the
answer would
second
surprise
one
you.
sounds pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Guess find out. If you stick
Let
around.
us find.
Oh, we
That's a
have
good
it.
question.
We're just
My friend.
dramatic.
There is an answer. I mean, when Greg dives into his big brain of his, that hold on.
I can say in a sentence, but I'm trying to lead people up to where they understand what this phrase is. So
Sure.
should I just say it?
Oh,
Go
I
ahead.
was-
It's Fisher geometry over constrained causal graph or causal futures, basically. Constrained by causal order futures. It's literally just that.
So
Fisher information divergence. So, well, you measure the divergence subconsciously because that's the only thing we can do. The entire universe runs on it. But enough about Ronald Fisher. We have a lot to figure out together before we can get to where that sentence just says, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." But if I've explained well, not today, but the whole arc, then you guys
is
can
it
join.
kind of like
Makes sense.
if I remember correctly, it's just kind of like, you know, in computer science, front side buses back in the 90s, how they didn't have a way to manage the flow of the processor's power. And so you had
kind of
and
yes
so-
and kind of no, but kind of moo, I guess. You know, like that's a gateless gate type of question you're asking me.
okay.
Like I should respond something like, it was one of the master's favorite phrases in one of there, like at the very end, his response to something like, "What's the meaning of life?" He goes, "A dried shit stick."
Not heard that.
Why
one
did he do
before.
that? It had nothing to do with the content of the words.
That's a
It really
Roman
does.
saying.
A Roman saying.
Really?
Oh, welcome.
Yeah,
in,
in Roman times. Welcome. Never done this from the trails before, guys. Yeah, the Romans used to have shit sticks that have a stick with a sponge on the end, clean their ass.
Well, this
And the
wasn't
sponge
dried
would get
utility. Right, like this was literally just a comment about philosophy from the wonderful folks over at Zen Buddhism.
right. So,
But
dried shit stick.
it's
I mean,
it's
that's
actually,
where-
have you guys ever played with koans before? Koan practice, like it's a really neat thing about Zen.
I have
No.
not.
No.
But I mean,
They're
Yeah.
basically like tiny little mystery poems that have a deeper truth hidden in them along the lines of the Zen Buddhist tradition. So if you want to learn this thing, you interpret all of these koans, and if you can make it through, then you've made a great leap towards understanding.
See.
But it was a different
But
kind
we-
of Buddhism because there are very few kinds of Buddhism that focus on intellectualizing itself. But that sort of is one of them.
Interesting.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent here.
But how?
That's okay.
How are we to understand? How are we to
Yeah.
understand anything if our big?
We
if
need the
our tiny
promos
little
being
brain-
cut here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, it's how do we understand?
Mm-hmm.
We have to understand that when we say we either understand or don't understand, we're already making a choice about understanding that may not be warranted. We commit a framing attack against ourselves. by deciding to divide the world into distinctions, we do something permanent, something physical, and something real. We eliminate possibilities by what we say. For example, I could have said a lot of other things, but now I've said that, right? And when you play back the video, no amount of me saying new things about what I said in the past would ever change the past, right? So
it's like being on a trail that William is showing, and it's cute little doggy.
Yes.
This is a
one
mind
properly
trail.
account for the unknown of the unknown without resort to cliche, right? How do you say the unknown unknowns and actually get a sense of what that means?
I could probably
The unknown of the unknowns. Is that
Right.
what you just
It's
said?
like
The
When you
unknown
say
of
that,
the
it almost
unknowns?
trivializes it. Like everybody's heard unknown
Right.
unknowns before. They've done like a SWOT style risk analysis, right? If you've done anything at all in a corporate office environment where somebody wants you to write a formal document about a plan you already made, that's when you bring out the SWOT analysis and you do this whole thing, and you go through and frame the problem in terms of downside risk, right? You set yourself up to think in terms of downside risk. And I think that we do a lot of framing attacks, and that first koan in the gateless gate, what is the sound of one hand clapping? If you can answer that without answering it, then you might have figured out that you've already passed the gate. That is the idea.
And sometimes the gate isn't called, you don't just barge through the gate, you find a way to divert it.
We have to learn to simulate unknowing, because we can't unknow what we think we know.
It's like walking through a dark tunnel and not having a light and not seeing where you're at, but then you end up discovering fire for the first time, and then you can finally see.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you
hey,
can.
do you guys want to jump into the video for the second paper so we can just get hopping on it? It's kind of
That sounds good.
a heavy-handed one.
great.
We should give ourselves plenty of time to unpack.
I have a quick question about the unknown, knowing the unknown, or know the unknowns.
And
Isn't that
from the
also
standpoint
where,
of gateless gate, right?
yeah, well, is it also a reason because we're creative creatures, we create answers for the unknown? The unanswerable questions is we create questions, and sometimes that's where mythology comes from.
It's I think you're onto something there, but I would invert the causality of it. I would say that our continuation in the world necessitated that we invent those things. Right. It's not that the way we are drives us to do so much as in order to be at all, that is how we are, and nothing else would have survived, because looking around, I don't see anybody else walking around talking about stuff that speaks about it in non-human language in a way that we can can point to.
Yeah. And how can you do that actually? How can you speak in a non-human language with
Exactly. You can't.
Yeah.
At least a human being cannot know that at all. That's a great example of sort of the gateless gate type of thinking. There's a third response. The Zen master would say, moo, the like moo, like a cow mooing, right? But it's actually moo, like M-U, and the anglicized spelling. But but if someone answers that, like you can answer yes, you can answer no, you can say moo. Moo means unask the question. Basically, yeah, it's a way of saying yes if you think yes, no if you think no, but it's a wrong framing. Or at least it might be a wrong framing. And so we should keep the idea in mind that we might shift frames and look at the same object from a different point of view.
Could it also be said that maybe we self-impose resistance on our own self because we're afraid,
we do,
you know, if we're moving in a certain direction that without any restrictions, that we're going to totally drop the ball?
All right, well, your beliefs map to a shape, to a geometry in your mind. Your neurons form a shape when you learn. They change. The synaptic connections change. The dendritic connections change weight. Our brains mechanically alter given the idea space that we currently inhabit. And if you can't imagine a thing from where you're standing, then it literally isn't in the physical geometry to get there. If you can imagine it, then it's possible. So
could we correlate this to sort of like a geometrical physicist style of consensus then of the mind. And
Well,
of the universe
it's a recognition of the observer as individual and local and finitely bounded, right? So each of us lives in a specific universe of our own as an observer, right? So my experience doesn't outweigh your experience in any particular way or anybody else's particular way. We each have a primary experience of our own, and that multiplicity can't be reduced beyond that because each of us is truly a unique individual.
Well,
Because if we weren't individuals with an identity that you could point to say that's still Greg or that's Zach or that's Andrew and know what that means, right? These people with these names are continuing, and I can point to them and say that persistent point is Andrew Joseph or I am or Zach. And when we do that, we kind of admit to ourselves that reality can't just have that person evaporate and disappear for no reason, right? Ideas are the same way. If you think a new thing and then begin to believe it, that's your own geometry changing physically. And so the ideas we put in the air matter for that. Like when you say a word that changes the way somebody believes, you alter the shape of their futures.
That's why that's why we can intercede on each other's behalfs for the most part and draw in our own ideas out in the open, and people can link to that, and that's how we come to a compromise or a disagreement, which is usually it happens to be catastrophic on a larger global scale.
Fancy this for a second. Certain languages have words that do not translate well to the one we speak natively. For example, there's a word in Russian called Toska. Are you guys familiar with that word? Tuska in the anglicized script form. The best description you can give it in English is sort of like a special brand of sadness that one experiences at joy, at moments of joy, because of the fact that they're already mourning its one-timeness, right? The uniqueness of a moment after it's gone, and the regretting of seeing it go right as it passes is what that word is meant to describe. One word like that compressed into that tiny little word, right? It's a thing that English couldn't invent, right? That needed Russians in order to say it. And there are tons of words like that all over the different cultural maps. We have words in English that do not map anywhere else. You can hear that every time someone says Walmart in Japanese. Walmart or whatever, right? Well,
you guys see the vulture?
No, it's a little hard.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I walked up across something that's probably dead. There's a bunch of vultures here.
Oh, okay.
I love it. I love it.
Live on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
You should try to catch up. No, you should. Wait. I think we should shift focus here. We are now hunting vultures.
Right.
No, seriously, why not?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys want to watch a vulture hunt? We can backseat drive for you. I am.
Vultures are they're interesting. They're interesting. Better for fur.
We're losing a bit there. From is anybody else seeing that, or is that just me?
It's blurred as well.
Yeah.
I am so sorry, guys.
He's probably crossing us all down.
Hey, we don't want messing with
no, it's
you.
interesting, actually.
You can't see anything?
We can now.
It's actually case in point, right? But you guys
That's a nice purple shirt you got there, William.
We're losing William on location.
So imagine, right. Here's a fun thought experiment, actually. Imagine what it would be like to be him on the other end of that. We know he didn't just decohere in reality, right? That's not something that happens to people. But from his standpoint, we were the ones glitching out. Our standpoints individually, like his thing might have a problem, right? William's connection is decohering. We all got that. The audience was like, this show is bugged as fuck. What are these people doing? Right? It's so unprofessional. Sorry for the F-bomb.
It's all right.
Fuckity fuck.
No, I was just saying I'm sorry because apologies actually have a physical effect in the world, right?
Yeah.
They're more about giving yourself permission to let go of what just happened if you didn't like how it
Well,
felt.
yeah. Well, I mean,
You know
it
what
makes sense because apology, pulling from the Greek. In Greek, apology actually means in defense of. So when you say sorry or apologize, you're actually defending yourself for doing a wrong. So, I
An
mean, that's
apology
how
is an
yeah.
admission and an arm raised in. Yeah,
Yep.
that's a very good
Yep.
point. But
Yep.
it's an open-handed one. It's one that says, "I'm sorry. Let's go back to collaborating now."
Mm-hmm.
Which is
That's
kind of cool.
that's which is interesting because that's how when it comes to faith and different belief structures, you have what's called apologetics, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're putting up the shield to defend what you believe, but at the same
Right.
time, you're saying no excuse. It's like this is us. This is what we believe. This is what we do.
It invites what is called
Mhm.
interlocution.
Yep. Yep. Become an interlocutor.
if you
Exactly.
wanted to illustrate an example of all the stuff we've been talking about here for the last couple minutes, maybe and I know it's obviously cartoon and everything, right? But Batman, you got Ra's al Ghul, he goes to the Lazarus pit and he dips in and he kind of loses his mind for a minute, and they had to have somebody sit there to hold him in control until he can regain
Yeah.
self-control.
A familiar voice can bring us all back from the brink, actually. If we start to
That actually sounds like an episode of Shadow.
kind of does.
I mean,
Well, it's throughout human storytelling, actually. Our myths still tell of the things that most haunt us, I think.
Right.
Like with War of Worlds. Damn, that was a mumble of words.
It's a lot of W's.
Yeah, that is a lot of W's, but especially that, like, that tells the story of our fear of the world. Like we're fearful of what is beyond. Is there something beyond? What if we were to discover the beyond? What will the beyond do to us? How would we interact with it? And then, of course, it leads to that fear level of what could happen. And so inevitably, when Orson Welles did the narration for that radio program to read the book, people thought it was real and they were scared. So it actually caused
right, because he put all of the right intonations.
I'll go down this way.
Sound like a real live news
I'll
report.
go over here.
It was really the first good satire. It really got everybody's goat.
Oh, you got another? I'll go over here. Hey guys, I'll be right back.
All
right.
Ave acque vale, sir.
Thank you.
That's a fun piece of Latin you can steal from film.
Latin.
Hail and farewell.
Absolutely.
You guys know what movie I stole that Latin quote from?
Where?
Can you guess?
I'll
give everybody a guess.
I don't know.
I couldn't tell you.
Batman.
Say the quote again.
Ave acque vale.
Sounds like a French movie.
It does.
Means hail and farewell.
Could it be? I'm drawing a
I'll
blank.
give you a hint. Sam Neill was in it.
I don't know.
Oh, Sam Neill was.
It was late 90s.
I give up. I'm
Horror
not entirely
genre.
sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
What was
Sci-fi horror genre. Okay, Event Horizon.
Oh.
That was a good one, right? It had Morpheus in it.
Yeah, it was.
That was a
I've not seen it, so I couldn't tell you.
That was a great.
Okay, homework.
That was a mind bender when I was in high school. It was like up there with The Matrix. Actually, one of the first things that I ever encountered that made me think about whether or not we could actually rip holes in reality like we think we can.
Another mind bender, actually. And it really is. It's a mind bender of existence and purpose and life and death and what comes at. I mean, is Bicentennial Man. Which, speaking of Sam Neill,
It was a good one.
that's a good one. It's I mean, if you're not ready and prepared for it, it's a little depressing. But I mean, there's a moral to it though, and finding purpose. I mean, and it kind of combines with where we're at in today's day and age with the rise of AI.
Actually, do you know where to watch that right now? I haven't seen that in forever. I need to rewatch it.
No, I couldn't tell you where to watch it.
I couldn't. Yeah,
We should get some clips of it for next week.
We should.
Yeah.
We're gonna start trying to do
really,
random
we
little bits
should.
of continuity between episodes, guys. So now missing an episode has stakes.
Right.
There you go.
Exactly. So tune in next week.
Yep, for that. But let's play the video now.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm tired of talking. I want my AI voice to take over. I'm
I mean,
kidding.
hey, nothing wrong with that, man.
Mm.
Gotta take a breather every once in a while.
That AI voice is pretty soothing, actually. Anybody have it popped up? Greg, you already
I'm
have it
thinking about
popped
music to the next one.
Well, you got to watch out for copyright strikes though on music.
Oh no, this will be a fully. Trust me, I know how to watch out for copyright strikes.
Mm.
One of the benefits of forcing yourself to go to law school to no later financial benefit.
Mm.
So, which one? I've got your design heretic. Which one we're talking about specifically?
I think we're on 2. We're ready for 2, weren't we?
I believe so. Hold on just a second.
Yeah.
2 or 3.
I think we're ready for 2. It's about link fluctuations, I think.
Mm.
Okay, just a second.
So, roadmap of where we are, by the way, from the standpoint of understanding this whole thing for everybody watching and trying their very best. This stuff can be elided over later for greater understanding. What we're looking at right now is the tiny little bits and pieces that led to the grander derivation. I didn't skip steps. Nothing is elided. And so we're going through this level of detail. But if this feels like Greek, just try to get a feel for it, a texture. Not so much as a like I get this, as a sort of feel where this
I
is
found
headed.
it.
Because understanding will emerge over the course of probably, for me, it took about 10 papers to really get a whole feel for it. And I would imagine everybody else would take 20 or 30.
Multiple times listening to it. You know, pausing and thinking certain concepts through.
Yep. If you just pick up one little piece of it and get an intuition for it, you've made some progress.
Yeah. So Zach, you got part 1 up. I got part 2 up.
Mm. Is there 2?
There's multiple.
Okay.
That's the right one right there.
Are we part 1?
Well, we did part 1 yesterday. Last week.
Part 1 is the beginning of this article. All the articles are broken out in parts for the papers.
I think we did paper 1 last week.
Yeah, we did paper 1 last time.
Yeah, I think we're on. This is paper 2 for part 1.
Yeah. Well, there's all the parts included.
I mean, it's all the parts. So.
Yeah.
There is no second video for this paper.
Okay.
So we both have it up.
There we go.
Well, you have part 1 up. I have part 2.
No, it's paper 2.
It's on first.
There's no first paper, Andrew. We both had the same one up.
Oh, my bad. Well, I've already got it up in the window, so I will be ready to jump in.
Put the title again right under the video. I'll improve that next time. The part 1 showing up there made it really confusing. Anyway.
Yeah, I think you're getting confused at the part 1. Let's roll.
I'll repost the title at the beginning from now on.
Okay.
Engage.
2. A spoken word guide. Link fluctuation. Structure and regime-specific coordination in continuation geometry. Part 1. What this paper is trying to explain. Paper 1 gave us geometry. Paper Paper 2 asks a different question. Once a regime exists, how does its coordination structure actually behave? Not in a vague sense, not metaphorically, not by importing laws of nature as ready-made objects. It asks, when a continuation regime is stable, what is the characteristic structure of its internal coordination fluctuations? That is what this paper is about. It discovers a constant, not a mystical number, not a universal generator of reality, a regime-specific invariant, a number that tells you how continuation multiplicity behaves when a projected regime is stable. Part 2, the starting point. The paper begins with a causal set, a discrete causal structure, events related by precedence, no loops, no contradictions, no infinitely dense pile of indistinguishable happenings. Inside that causal structure, it considers synchronized substructures, not arbitrary chunks, substructures whose elements are coordinated enough to count as a live local regime. The first thing the paper counts is links. Not all relations, just cover relations. The immediate coordination relations. The nearest neighbor causal skeleton. That is a subtle move, because it says the relevant structure is not just that things are related, but how densely the regime is stitched together at its active surface. Part 3, the fluctuation law. Now the paper does something important. It does not just count links. It looks at how the number of possible synchronized substructures grows as the system gets larger. And it finds that the growth is logarithmic in a very particular way. This is the key object, a fluctuation law. What it tells you is that continuation multiplicity does not grow arbitrarily. It grows in a patterned way that can be described by an effective coordination density. That coordination density is what the paper names with the constant. This constant is not the structure itself. It is a measure of how compressed or coordinated the projected regime is. That distinction matters. The constant describes a live equilibrium. It does not create one. Part 4, the constant. Paper 2 finds a specific numerical value for the stable projected coordination density of the familiar 3 + 1 dimensional regime. About 13.81.
Okay. Here's a good place to
That
pause.
is the famous number in this paper.
Okay.
So, two things worth noting here. The causal set stuff actually was originally drawn from the tools of causal set theory, which is a very specific, attempt to find theory of everything foundational project, right? Some people studied causal sets specifically with the idea in mind to get at governing dynamics of everything. It came from, I think they might have fallen out at the same time as causal dynamical triangles and loop quantum gravity. Those or loop quantum cosmology or whatever. The invariant loop quantum kind, like the Carlo Rovelli focused one. If anyone ever read The Order of Time, that guy's one of those people. and I borrowed their tools basically and figured out this thing by looking at their old data. But what we're really looking at here is still pretty abstract. So don't try to think that what we're saying is, the universe is fundamentally made of graphs at the root. What we're saying is we can get at an understanding of what those things are by looking at them as a graph of synchronized parallel happenings, to where you have chains of events that actually happen, and they're ruled out anti-chains. Like if you can think of a sequence of events, if A comes before B and B comes before C, then C cannot come before A, right? That is a really simple example of a causal set playing out where you have a chain and an anti-chain, because you could still have, like A prime 7 Q in your weird ontology, right? Anything that's considered a valid link could be in there, but you can never have A be before B and then C be before A if B is before C. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can graph this out at scale using maths, and the math we're describing here is the math that just so happens, when you work it right, causes a 3 + 1 degree of freedom instead of dimension. Let's just say degree of freedom, because degree of freedom is a more precise term than dimension. Like, dimension allows you to pack mysticism into it. I think we should just use what it really means, right? So you have 3 degrees of freedom plus 1, time plus 3 dimensions of movement. The way that it mathematically falls out is not traditional. It's more old. It goes back to like the early days, like the 1910s. So you have to learn about, if you wanted to do the math yourself,
What if
the Minkowski formulation of a manifold.
Now, what if the
So it's a 4D Minkowski is what we're really looking at here when we're looking at causal sets.
Yeah. Now, what if the mysticism actually can explain what is happening physically? Then,
Well, I think that the real thing is, if we're on the right mysticism, it should line up with the theory that they should cohere, right?
mm-hmm.
They can't cancel each other out. They can't contradict, because we're talking about, especially when we're talking about God, we're talking about an all-powerful being, a thing that cannot be wrong, right? A mind that cannot be wrong, a universe that knows itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah,
or the progenitor of a universe that knows itself.
And with that makes very much sense for when if we fully go into like a mindfulness state of meditation, why many people come out hearing and communicating and seeing something when they actually get down to a certain level. I mean, especially if you're, especially if like you wean yourself through like a fast and you kind of starve yourself to the point, then that kind of signals something. That signals, thank you, William, for adding the signal to my vocabulary of my mind. But it kind of signals something to where you can store everything that is coming at you at the pit of yourself, and it kind of weakens you to the point to where you're stronger. Like your will is strong, even though your body is weak. And so you feel things that are more complex in our own minds, but really it's just simplistic in what the law of everything really is. If that makes any sense.
That makes total sense.
Mm.
Absolutely, man. It's a way of
Doubling down.
not expecting them to be conflicting, right?
Mm-hmm.
In any case, I think we can probably keep rolling here. I just wanted to stop and give people some background so that if they wanted to look this up or ask a chatbot about it, that they had some context about where this stuff is coming from. Because the good work of a lot of people went into making this particular discovery stumble acrossable. Right. This actually, the 13.81 repeating, like, it's actually a very pi-like number. It's transcendental. It doesn't actually ever balance. 13.81 repeat, with all the different numbers that follow, just like pi.
Yeah.
So you're saying that
Yeah.
there's only two genders because there's two sexes?
I am not making any particular comment about that joke, but I'm sure we could derive that down if we went down the chronobiology path further. We just have not had time to do that much work.
That's a weekend
Seriously,
project.
I'm not kidding. We could just unpack that. It would probably take like 2 months.
It probably would. Probably take
I mean,
longer.
we have to go all the way up from link fluctuations to proteomics to actually we'd have to go through chemistry, then biochemistry, and then proteomics, and up through the omics stack, and all the way up to human behavior, and then you could get it.
Onyx is your favorite Pokemon too?
Is omics a Pokemon?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
It's close. It's close.
Do they call it multi-omics because that's the real hairy monster?
Yeah,
Right.
you have Geodude that evolves into Onyx, and then Onyx evolves.
Oh, I was using an M as in Martian, rather than an N as in N word.
Oh, Omnix. Omics.
Yes.
Omics, rather than Onyx. See,
You guys like how I threw an N word in there
mhm.
to keep people on their toes.
Speaking
I love
of
how it
names,
makes everyone else say the word that you can't say in your head.
Snickers.
Yep. Helps to be a prankster. Always helps to be a prankster. Anyway,
Talk
neither here
about
nor there.
being a Sphinx.
Oh yeah, the other
get
interesting
back into
thing,
it.
though, I do want to quickly point out about the Minkowski formulation of the manifold is that Minkowski was the guy who first took Einstein seriously, and he was like a geometry teacher. The guy is like not a very good student, but guy's brilliant. So we wouldn't have Minkowski as a household name if it were not for general and special relativity, and also the fact that Einstein failed his course. True story. He did fail it.
That's pretty
He did
wild.
fail it. Yeah, he failed miserably.
Yeah, but Minkowski actually really got a liking for the guy and took him like a serious person still. Like you don't have to be good at taking math tests to be good at understanding math.
Exactly.
Shit.
Anyway,
Well, here
thought
we
that was
go.
a cool little side note. History is built by standing on one another's shoulders.
Exactly. And if we don't know history, we don't know if Andrew should engage.
Here we go.
But the paper is very careful. It says this value is not a universal primitive. It is regime specific, projection specific, closure specific. That means the constant is invariant only inside a fixed live regime. If the regime changes, the constant can change too. So the paper is not saying, here is the one number from which the universe is generated. It is saying, here is the characteristic coordination density of a closure-stable projected regime of this type. That is much cleaner and much more powerful. Part 5. Why the constant matters. What does this number actually measure? The paper gives several interpretations. It measures fluctuation structure. It measures effective coordination density. It measures the compressibility of continuation structure. That last phrase is especially important. A regime is not just there. It has a certain internal cost of coordination, a certain density of stitching, a certain way that multiplicity behaves under projection. The constant captures that. So when you say a regime is stable, you are not saying merely that it persists. You are saying that its continuation multiplicity and its closure enforcement have settled.
Okay. Just a useful example here, because the neat thing about continuation geometry is it's staring you in the face right now. All of this drives up to physical reality. If the theory is correct, which I'm pretty confident it is at this point. I'm gonna stop throat clearing over that pretty soon because I'm getting bored of saying it. You throw something like this, right, made of foam. It does not fly the same as something heavier, right, which can fall with like some heft, right? They can even be the same exact shape. You can imagine a baseball versus a foam thing made up to look just like a baseball, right? That is sort of the nature of the difference that we're talking about here. Certain things based on what they are already can only have certain possibilities. A foam baseball is never going to fly the same flight path as an actual baseball when it gets hit by a baseball bat. You can tell the difference upon the recorded result when you see what happens. And that's just the simple thing that is saying. I want to give people an intuition for the fact that, in fact, they're looking at continuation geometry right now.
It's pretty wild. The first thing that kind of popped to mind is to talk about, projections and, what popped to mind was that could you realistically apply this to some regime from the past, like the Roman Empire, and see how accurate it is, how long it would be sustained?
It actually does, in fact, predict pretty well.
Yeah,
and draws a neat alarming equivalence to the place we are in our own empire compared to where Rome was at this particular point.
that is kind of wild. I mean, I can see how that'd be beneficial for somebody who's trying to, plan out a society. Like, there's different parts of the world where basically the whole society at large is one constant cluster. And
there is a simple corrective to underlying all of the way we organize, but human beings are not inclined to see it. And it's actually kind of an accident of what we evolved to be and understand ourselves as, and the conflict between that and what we actually are, right?
So
ultimately, we were successful with the almost right idea for so long that we're having a hard time letting go of the almost wrong idea, or the almost right parts of it, or the almost right parts of it. Because time has been misunderstood, and the fundamental nature of organization and what's possible for planning has been misunderstood, because people can imagine more than there is, right? It's part of the neat thing about humans is our imaginations are bigger than the possibility that actually exists. Just listen to a kid talk about what they imagined or dreamed of for like a minute, and you get the fact that, fundamentally, I think everybody gets the fact that we can imagine more than is.
That is kind of wild.
It's possible.
Yeah. Right? And if we're not imagining anything and not sparking creativity, then what do we have in life is but strife, despicable attitude, and division.
Creativity is a survival tool in this geometry, right? If what we're trying to do ultimately is thrive, what does thriving mean in a thing built on causal order and limited bandwidth? What is it that matters to that world? What makes a good version of that for us from our standpoint? And I think it's pretty obvious, right? We want to continue. We want to persist. We at least want to keep trying for what we idealize as possible. So juxtapose that. It's wrong to close off people's dreams, basically. It's unethical because it limits the possible futures we might explore. When we tell somebody something's impossible and they believe it, right? They start to internalize the idea that this is impossible. It's dangerous.
It can't be done.
Not in a metaphorical sense, literally dangerous to our future, because we only get so many.
String theory.
Islam is a danger to our future.
Anyway, I just wanted to quickly pause there and talk about that intuition, so that we understood that we were talking about the real world, just in a new kind of language. It doesn't feel traditionally physicsy. It's a new way for physics to speak, so that it doesn't completely become incommensurable with everything else.
Right. Well, let's roll.
into a characteristic relationship. Paper 2 gives that relationship a number. Part 6. Why the number can never fit perfectly. Now comes one of the deepest moves in the paper.
Zach, you're
The
going to like this
stable
part.
coordination density is not an integer.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
This is actually just a holler back to now 2 episodes ago. One of the comments at the beginning of the show where you guys tried to talk about paper 0 without my help presence. There was a joking attempt to say, what kind of Catholic is this guy for coming up with this theory? Right here is where my Catholicism hides in the theory. See if you can spot it.
Okay.
But realized coordination is discrete. That means any actual realization of the regime must carry a residual mismatch. It can get close. It cannot land exactly. This is a very beautiful result because it means stable regimes are never perfectly at rest. There is always a remainder, a small, irreducible mismatch between the ideal projected equilibrium and the discrete realization.
To sum
Paper
that all up
2
right
says that mismatch has to go somewhere.
Say it again.
a heart at rest, to sum all this up, a heart that is not at rest is restless until it is at rest in
Yeah.
him.
And there you see it. But my favorite part about this is the duality between something, and this is one of my favorite little brain teasery puzzles in this stuff. And so if you don't find this interesting, you don't have to, like, this is not going to be on the test because there's not going to be a test, and that would be stupid. You guys are not signing up for a course. We're talking about stuff, but
Unless you want
if
to.
you were in a course here, it would not be on the test, right? So
I still got to pay for the Scott Horton Academy. Sorry.
as I was struggling with this idea, I came up with this idea of sort of n, capital N. Think about like a symbol N, like n equals all numbers of all things, right? In this case, n equals the possible space of every possibility, including the ones I can't comprehend are there, if such things exist. And we call that the infinite space of possibility, right? The limit of all things that you could count. It's a way of approximating infinity. There's some uncountably large number of things, but we can't call it infinite because the universe doesn't have unlimited bandwidth. So we call it infinite. Right? But there's no perfect match between infinite visible order in the world and that remainder, because that remainder is what causes there to be another moment after every moment, every time, without fail. The thing keeps marching forward. It does not stop. There is always a remainder. The universe can only close on a perfect non-remaindered end. We live in a place with a beginningless beginning and an endless end. And that single thing falls out of the fact that every synchronized cluster has a mismatch. The pressure from the past to become and the pull from the future to to continue to seek more, to not find closure. That whole thing closes anyway. There's a parity between odd and even coexisting as a single set, right? An odd even system can completely be out of balance while being in balance if you conceptualize it like infinity as the denominator. Divide by infinity and the infinite becomes palpable. Right?
It's kind of like the difference between a negative number and a positive number, how it's divided by 0. And if you try to put one in another section, it'd be psychologically stressful for them.
Yeah, a place with no end, but perfect geometric matching to the possibility of ending. And thus, the math works out. Right? That's so amazing. That is, to me, where God resides in this equation, because only that kind of mathematical perfection that is so imperfect that it's perfect. That seems like the kind of genius that you expect when you understand something mysterious about his ways, so to speak.
And the Greeks started this equation. They just couldn't finish it. Plato, Aristotle.
Those crazy bastards.
Paragus. I can't say his name.
Pythagoras.
The interesting is that number.
Pythagoras.
Yeah.
The really interesting thing is that number is also very useful engineering-wise. You can make otherwise non-contained sets behave completely cleanly if you use it as a coordination number. It's awesome. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out because you'd mentioned it, and I think there are still a lot of people out there who might have some angst about the notion of a pure science mixing with a pure heart.
Mm-hmm. That's all science is. Science is just the study and the all making a sense of everything, of what is reality, and all.
They're not incompatible at all. They're they're incompatible and compatible. Therefore, in the one way that they conflict, one understands infinity, the other understands n finiteness.
Mm-hmm. And together they make your mind blow up. Engage.
Here we go.
Because you can run the simulation forever and it has no end, but the math would only work if there were a possible ending.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't they say that eventually the sun's going to go out? Maybe that's the end right there.
Well, maybe they say the sun's going to go out. Maybe my question back is, what are we supposed to do about it before then?
Mm.
It's our garden, guys. That was the whole point.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yep.
Here we go.
This is not a message of decline anymore. Science has spent way too long being all about doom and gloom.
Right.
Mm.
Damn black fillers. They should join us.
This is literally about just understanding the control surface of reality so we can all drive it like we were meant to.
Exactly.
It is stored.
You've been asleep at the wheel, man. Anyway.
Not erased.
That's all right.
Not wished away. Stored. That stored mismatch becomes part of the regime's live structure. This is one of the first places where chronotopology openly refuses the fantasy of perfect fit. Even stable reality carries residual tension. Part 7. Forward pressure and closure pressure. Now the paper names the two sides of the balance. One side is forward continuation pressure, the tendency of the system to keep expanding continuation. The other side is closure enforcing suppression, the tendency of the regime to prevent unconstrained explosion and maintain admissibility. This is one of the most important pairs in the canon. Forward pressure wants more. Closure pressure says,
sure,
only what remains admissible.
I just wanted to apologize for spelling that boom cannon in that case. I didn't catch the AI on that one example. So it was not a boom cannon. That was supposed to be a cannon as in a pile of papers, not an exciting explosion.
It's no problem, man.
So I just wanted to point out the flood.
I mean,
there.
it's a lot of work. You're never going to catch everything.
Oh, imagine trying to pay attention to this with an editorial eye. That's what I've been doing with my time a lot.
Right.
Oof. The AI does not get it right most of the time when you're talking in science terms, especially when you're inventing new ones.
I can understand.
Anyway, onward.
All right.
And the paper makes a subtle point here. These two pressures do not operate in the same form. Forward continuation behaves multiplicatively. Closure behaves logarithmically. That means closure is not just negative continuation. It is the log dual of continuation pressure. That is a very strong structural claim.
Another typo that was
It
supposed to
means
be
the regime
DUAL.
is balancing not two mirror images.
Say it again. It's hard to hear over that. When
Oh, another typo that was supposed to be DUAL, not dual, right? Not pistols at dawn. It was more like a pair, a duo. Anyway,
Oh, it's okay, man. I mean, it kind of
it's
matches with the
TTS, man.
ending.
It's not an agent. It's doing the best its people who control it can do. So
It's all right.
But two different kinds of dynamics. Growth on one side, logarithmic correction on the other. That is why equilibrium lands where it does. Part 8. Equilibrium in log space. Paper 2 then shows that stable regimes settle into equilibrium in logarithmic space. This is another crucial move. It means that what looks unstable in raw multiplicative terms can be perfectly stable once you look at the right variable. Not the size directly, the logarithm of the size. That is where the system balances. This is the paper's way of saying, stop looking at continuation as naive accumulation. Look at the geometry of its coordination burden. Once you do that, the constant becomes legible. The regime is not frozen. It is balanced. Balanced between multiplicative drive and logarithmic enforcement. Part 9. Plateau regimes. The paper then introduces the idea of plateau structure. A plateau is not the end of dynamics. It is a regime where the continuation width is no longer meaningfully increasing. Inside such a plateau, the coordination constant remains stable. The fluctuation law holds.
this is
The
a good place to
mismatch
pause.
residual may continue to accumulate.
Oh yeah, yeah. To add on to that,
Oh, go ahead, Zach.
yeah, kind of makes you wonder and ponder on death. What is death? What is the afterlife? Is there an afterlife? Is there an infinite? Is there an end, a finite end to an infinite beginning? Kind of makes you think. Does the math correlate to an infinite being after a finite end? That death is just another door that you step through, and then you live
I know.
again.
Or
I saw an article recently about how they had created a special kind of liquid for pig brains to be put into, and there was no blood or any oxygen or
that was
whatever.
old. That was that recent? They're still doing that research. They
They're
started
just still
that, like,
doing research.
2015, I think.
And they just come out with a new article about it, and
Cool.
they were able to revive a pig's brain, and it was showing signs of like activity, and it was
Right.
pretty good activity.
Now, the
too,
really
so,
interesting
yeah.
question. Did they ask the question, is it the same pig?
No,
Or-
I don't think I've got that far.
Interesting, right? Now, we're going to make a prediction from chronotopology here, right here and right now, that if people test that at some point in the future, it will come back that it is in fact the same pig.
The pig has a glorified body.
I will continue explaining why throughout the series, because it's just going to be a while before we get to that part. But there's some building blocks you need to understand in order to see it. But we do have a way to answer that question that makes sense.
If we can prove that we can bring back the brain activity of a dead pig, then we could possibly prove scientifically that there is an eschatological and an epistemological idea that surrounds a infinite being of a glorified physical body.
Right. But we are not excused from faith either by this.
No.
Because knowing how this works requires one to recognize, which we will at the end, that anything that created this would not be able to, once it was in motion, make outside edits without breaking it. So the control mechanisms and interface mechanisms would have to be baked in to the thing beforehand. And they would be baked in a way, if you could do it, in which you could have no valid knowledge of the outside from inside, other than belief.
What's my saying, Andrew? Reason without faith is utterly retarded, and faith without reason means you're fucking stupid.
You can get lost in the wilderness really fast without it.
And that's the idea here, is right. Like we're think about life as it is in a philosophical wilderness, just trying to reach the essence of nirvana, as the Zen Buddhist would articulate, which is that of the Garden of Eden.
Well, and to truly appreciate what we've been given with it. You know, appreciation and understanding are intrinsically linked.
You know, it's constant, but it's like driving the speed limit, right? They say, you know, conservatives are just progressives who drive the speed limit. That's what we're trying to do here in this particular. We're trying to find a way to do this.
Right? We'd feel we'd want to feel gratitude from the things that lived inside that enjoyed it, no matter what they were. And if we crafted them very specifically to turn the machine very specifically, such that we would turn out like our creators, there would probably be a lot of disappointment if we weren't living up to what was expected of us.
Why would I drive the speed limit there, Andrew? I want to go as fast as I can, as possibly as I can, because I want to be a martyr.
I mean, that's good cop versus bad cop. They're both driving in one direction, but one's just being a little bit more cautious than the other.
My goal of holiness is martyrdom.
It's no fun though. Martyrdom's too easy. You get to let your legend do all the work for you.
Maybe that's the point.
Well, maybe it's not though.
Yeah.
But maybe we move on and find out the mystery a little further, as far as we can find answers.
That was a cue.
All ready? Here we go.
That last point matters, because a plateau can look perfectly stable from the outside while storing tension internally. So a plateau is not nothing happening. It is a closure-stable region in which visible growth has paused while hidden mismatch may still be building. That is a powerful idea, and it becomes very important.
I forgot to mention this. We are in a stable plateau called a 3+1D Minkowski when you think about it in causal set terms. But the place we are right now, look around the room, stable plateau, the reality we inhabit, three-dimensional space, plus a feeling of what we call time, which we'll get to. Anyway.
Important later in the canon. Part 10. Promotion and lift. Eventually, the paper says, there are conditions under which the plateau can no longer hold. Headroom goes to zero. The effective privilege of local continuation is exhausted. Closure fails locally. Then the regime reorganizes. This is where lift enters, not as a free upgrade, not as a metaphysical leap, as a lawful transition out of a closure-saturated plateau into a new regime with a new coordination structure. This is important because it means the constant is not eternal. It is the invariant of a regime. When the regime changes, the invariant can change. That keeps the paper honest. It does not absolutize the current world. It characterizes it.
Welcome to Illogical Theology.
Part 11, Dimensional Dependence. Paper 2 is careful here as well. The familiar value belongs to a particular regime, a particular projection, a particular dimensional closure condition. Different regimes may have different coordination constants. That means the constant is not just a number for reality. It is a number for reality under this closure-stable projection. This is a crucial anti-mystification move, because it stops the reader from turning the result into numerology. The paper explicitly refuses that temptation. The constant is not the cause of the structure. It is the invariant description of how the structure behaves within a regime. Part 12. The discrete
there's a
continuum
constant that
bridge.
just doesn't coordinate.
The append.
Okay, we should pause. It's a great question.
Fine.
There is a constant, but it's constant specific to this regime, and there is and we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, because there is a way across regimes that the way that constant comes to be can be smoothly mapped continuously, right? So there's actually a continuum description of what happens when you go from one degree of freedom at time 0, 1 plus 1d, causality plus order, right? You get 2 rules, 2 degrees of freedom. So it moves forward kind of in binary until it runs out of space, and then it has to expand, right, to an additional degree of freedom. Multiple neighborhoods of different ways that could have played out can emerge. You get you start to get something called differentiability between 2 things that otherwise look similar. You know, this event versus that event. Eventually, you get things like spin, right? Rotation, which necessitates the emergence of 3D space. A stable plateau is a set of degrees of freedom that don't destroy each other, I guess, is a way of thinking about it. That makes sense.
I guess you could, another way to maybe put it
So
is
if you
that,
add a dimension, there's a different, the constant's number will change, but there's an algorithm that describes how they map from staff. Like we go from 1
what
to
I was
2
about
to 3 to 4 to 5. We can, the constant, the number will change, but the math behind the number will not.
It's like people who are planning for, developing the upcoming cities, how some people will just wing it and other people will have a more refined expansionary attempt at increasing the volume of the city appropriately.
Yeah, that's where
that's what I'm taking from it.
Right, it's to do with the sort of the mystery of phase. Its ability to be recontextualized to describe mismatch in anything.
Yeah, it's running lean.
Yep.
Stable plateaus.
We care about 13.81 though, because it describes our universe, right? The one we see in front of our faces. That's the reason we've been focused here, but the only reason we've been focused here.
So, well, here we go.
Index compression is one of the cleanest parts of the paper. Discrete growth enforces integer coordination. Continuum description stabilizes in logarithmic space. Residual mismatch is unavoidable. The mismatch is stored. Closure enforcement keeps the regime live. This is the bridge. The world is not purely discrete in one naive sense, and not purely continuum in another. The discrete realization and the logarithmic continuum description meet in the regime's fluctuation structure. That is where the constant lives. Part 13. Why this paper matters.
I think 1 is in fact the next number.
Paper
I just always think it was
2 does something
13.18 or
subtle
13.81.
but foundational.
Or no, actually you said 181. It's 13.81 something. 8191. I forget the whole string. It depends honestly on how precisely you calculate it to how fine you can get. But
It's like you said earlier, it's a lot like pi.
it stops being
in that
meaningful
way.
after about 12 significant figures. Anyway,
Welcome
for
to
the
a
fellow math
logical.
nerds in the audience.
Welcome to illogical theology, where we try to make sense of everything through illogical means and convert it
Right.
into a logical idea.
And for the rest of you, welcome to Legacy Right.
Yep, and also welcome to chronotopology.
Hey.
It takes the geometry derived in paper 1 and asks what stable coordination looks like inside it. The answer is not arbitrary, not hand-waved, not vaguely statistical. It has a characteristic density, a fluctuation law, a residual mismatch, a stored tension, a plateau structure, a lawful lift condition. In other words, paper 2 turns geometry into live regime structure. It is where chronotopology begins to describe not just space-like organization, but the internal logic of stable worlds. Part 14, Final Compression. A closure-stable regime has a characteristic projected coordination density. That density is not exact in any discrete realization. Its mismatch is unavoidable. Its mismatch is stored. Its stability is a balance between multiplicative continuation pressure and logarithmic closure enforcement. That is what the constant means. Not a magic number, a live equilibrium signature. Shortest compression. Stable worlds cannot fit themselves perfectly. Their mismatch is part of their stability. Hard compression. The constant does not generate the regime. It tells you how a stable regime breathes. Margin line. Reality does not rest at perfect fit. It persists by storing the difference.
There you go.
Cool.
This is wild stuff,
you
man.
know how your intuition, like your gut feeling, gives you a charge, sort of a direction in mind. What I should do right now. You most of the time are wanting to stand still and have to decide what to do, right? Make yourself do something. But that's, at least for me, and I don't know about if it is for you guys, a search process where I reel through thoughts and I think, what do I want to do next? It's almost
You
like we're really
referenced
asking ourselves what we would do next if we could do everything, and then we choose one, and it's usually stay there, right? Like we don't want to do anything, and that's oftentimes the right answer. But sometimes we're impelled, right? We get an intuition, a gut feeling, a calling, right? A need to do something. That is the sort of the tension we're describing about closure here, right? Yeah, numerology is a form of myth making, right? It sets up the integer itself, the shape of the drawing as a symbolic deity. So numerology is a form of idolatry in a way.
And who was the first to really perfect numerology? I'll let you answer. Starts with
Yeah,
zero.
that's amusing.
I couldn't tell you, honestly.
Numerology is a human behavior, man. It's
a human
abstract pareidolia, basically. We see patterns in the world we want to be meaningful.
Yeah. Well, it's trying to define the structure that's beyond our understanding with something that we can understand, which is numbers. So we look for patterns and try to coordinate those patterns to that of numbers, mathematics, equations, and it starts to make sense, and we flip and we stand them all together. So like 8 is infinite, because when you flip the 8, it goes, so that's the infinity. So like for like the Jews, and the Jewish numerological, and I think they have more of a, when it comes to numerology, I think it makes more sense than, as William's down here saying, China. With China, I mean, the East and the West kind of converge in the Near East, right? So 7 is complete, and of course, God, in accordance to the poetic creation story of Genesis, rested on the 7th. Well, that is the symbolic numerological symbology of rest, of acknowledging completeness. This is where we're at. Our week ends on the 7th day. So
but we can't. Yeah, the risk we take is reifying the quantity as if it were an actual quantity, right? Like what we're talking about isn't the number of possible futures. We're talking about a logarithm of the number of possible futures, and then a matrix of those logarithms taken at a series of moments in a neighborhood, and then another logarithm of that set. And that's where 13.81 emerges as the thing that coordinates local neighborhoods of events such that we synchronize them or see them as synchronized, right? That a moment can be said to be part of a sequence of moments, just like this show. And it's what distinguishes us from the fact that there are other shows out there that people could be watching that they're not, right? And we're glad you're here, but we acknowledge that those things exist. And when you look at the set of things called shows, zoom out and see those things as sequential in their own way. There's an episode next week, and there's an episode the week after that. We've fine-grained out to look at the bigger picture, or coarse-grained out to look at the bigger picture, I guess, right? We lose the detail of the individual moments in each show to get a sense of each show as a moment.
Actually, that's brilliant. 7 day of rest as a plateau after a lift to cite your work.
Exactly. There's also an interesting sort of functional phenomena. When we get to the next paper, we'll be talking about this really neat equation called the ABBM equation. It was discovered in 1990 originally as a way to understand noise in electromagnetism so that you could build better electromagnets, right? Because the current through the bigger electromagnets was creating trouble for things like particle accelerators or like really fine instrumentation for space-based experiments or satellites or whatever, right? If you can understand this noise, you can have electromagnetism that is more manageable. So they invented this equation, and then fast forward 15 years, the great people over at causal set theory, trademark, they wouldn't let me in their club, by the way. They didn't like any of my research. They thought I was misusing their tools, but it was funny. That was
what are you, a heretic?
That's how I found out I wasn't getting on X-Archive. They wouldn't even look at the math. They were just like, "What school are you from?"
The University.
Boo. Anyway,
you should have just said the University of Michigan.
I digress. What we're going to get into is their modification of the ABBM equation called the Benincasa-Dowker-Glaser equation, BDG action. It is actually a way in causal set theory that maps to, I'm not kidding, that 1990s research into electromagnetics that maps into how the neighborhoods cluster. They started seeing 13.81, that number, fall out as a coordination constant when they retroactively did the math, and they dismissed it as a simulation artifact. Even though the thing that they pulled from was a physical system, right? They just ignored the fact that coordination constant emerged from math invented by engineers retroactively by trying to assemble a solution to a problem in the physical world.
See, Andrew, that you were exactly right.
So causal sets link back to that, and it's not just pure abstraction at that point. You've got a connection to physical reality. So I tried reapplying the problem, right? And as it turns out, that equation is very useful all over the place. It drives a lot of those code pens that everybody has had a chance to look at, even.
See, this
Well,
is
Greg, I guess you finally answered the question, Greg.
Mm,
He is no longer a scientist. He is an engineer.
exactly.
And what's his name? I'm sorry. I was going to make a joke, and I can't remember what his name is.
I'll make a joke.
From the 90s. It was 90s on he was a scientist on TV.
Bill Nye, the science guy.
Bill Nye, yeah. Bill Nye is not
Bill.
a scientist. He's an engineer. There you go. I remember it. Thank
I
you.
have a difficult time believing he would have the patience to get into avalanche dynamics, because that's another way to think about lift, right? As an avalanche.
So what you're saying is Florence, Kentucky has done it wrong, and instead of building on top of themselves, they should have bought a whole bunch of farmland and expanded.
Okay, I'll say that. Yes, why not?
You'll have to be there to understand the context of his joke.
It's okay. I can adopt an arbitrary opinion for no good reason.
Although I don't want them to take a bunch of farmland, because without farms, where do you get your food? From a lab?
Pretty much.
I don't know.
From China.
I can't.
From the road, that can be a meal if you need it.
You could. I mean,
eventually a solution to your problem for food will surface, especially if you don't pay attention too carefully.
Especially when you're destroying a bunch of habitat, they have nowhere to go. Well, what's going to happen? Truck driving the wrong, hits, roadkill, dinner.
Yes,
sir.
Not to veer into the dark cloud and to keep things on silver linings. Okay, so Hermeticism, that's an interesting one, because I keep hearing that come back to me. A lot of the ideas of Hermeticism are really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason they're powerful isn't that Hermeticism landed on some perfectly true way to frame reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was an imagined artifact that people worked on for years, right? One guy came up with this really coherent idea that seemed plausible, and so the people continued to work on it, refine it, and eventually they got to a story that made causally logical sense, right? And it sort of locked in. I actually have. So, by the way, you should check if you're into Hermeticism. You should check out the site Time War dot something. It's Time War dot. It's not com. Time War.io, Time War.ai. I'm not sure which. Anyway, it's worth checking out if you're into Hermeticism. But the thing about Hermeticism is it inverts two primitives, right? It gets causal order, but it doesn't get that the pride of place is wrong for time. The time belongs in the slot that they give to causal order, and causal order belongs in the slot that they give to time. That's how they mess up. Otherwise, Hermeticism is almost identical to chronotopology. They privilege the idea that there's one global time, though, which is wrong. But that said, they got the architecture right, the causal structure of the thing they thought through. They just mistook time mistook causality for time, because they're humans, and time has been a very useful tool for us. It's hard for us not to see it as the most important thing on Earth.
Is this it? Actually,
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Timewar.org, everybody.
It's really cool, actually. It's an interesting site, but don't convince yourself of anything other than the fact that it's a valid projection, because it's just as valid as the projection we're talking about here. Right? It's just that one doesn't correspond to the physical chart, and we're talking about the physical chart of causality, not an imagined space bigger than that, or at least compatible to coexist with that. Assuming we accept certain things like the emergence of abyssal terrors from Lovecraftian lore, right? They almost automatically fall out if you go with Hermeticism as the explanation for everything. If you privilege time, then you get monsters. If you privilege causality, you get the world we live in.
Mm-hmm. And in reality, we take the inkling of truth and try to extrapolate that inkling to find the fullness. So, but anyways, fellas, we have reached the hour-and-a-half mark.
Absolutely.
Speaking of time, we should probably
tune in next week for even more difficult math and difficult philosophy from difficult people.
Yeah. And we'll give you back your time for the day, everybody who has joined in. So thank you all for jumping in. Thank you, William, for jumping in and adding to the conversation as always, and showing his face in the trail and his dog and chasing vultures, allowing us to chase vultures with him. So, but other than that, guys, any last words before the final meal of our destiny?
Yeah. Let me just real quick. So what I'm about to do here is hit a button that says edit name and headline. And a box pops up that says edit display name, and I'm going to change it from actual agentic intelligence to this. That is where I want you to go to check out the thing that I am just closing up work on, which is basically after every round of edits I did on these papers, I did try to do a capstone. And if the capstone failed, then I'd start over and try again. And the new capstone succeeded. There will not be a revision 4, at least unless I run into something later that requires me to start again from scratch after we've built the cannon even bigger. But that capstone is going to be released today. So please go check it out, because it probably is a way cleaner encapsulation of everything we've talked about so far, and a good guide, a good sort of syllabus, if you will, to everything we're going to keep talking about.
Fantastic. Wow. Andrew, any last words for your final meal?
I was right. He is a heretic.
Aw.
That's it.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later, okay?
Cheers.
Check out Illogical Theology over on Substack as well. And go check out Greg's work, Design Heretic, on Substack. Maybe both of them combined. Maybe I'm just an idiot. But,
should we tell them the secret, Zach?
Yeah.
That our work is a parallel interpretation from 2 different projections of the same underlying causal substructure?
It kind of is. It is, actually. It
absolutely is. So, it's working out that way anyway. It's uncanny. Every time I read one of your pieces, I'm like, well, this helps me make context of this from the standpoint of my own faith.
That's pretty much what I do every time I listen. I listen or read your work. I do the same thing. I'm like, how can I apply a moral
contribution?
Moral teaching,
not just seen but deeply appreciated, and everybody should check it out because it's awesome.
It's okay, ladies and gentlemen. It's all Japanese to me too.
Japanese, and that Japanese down there actually just says
what? Oh, hey.
So,
thanks for watching, guys.
That,
peace.